On July 31st, I called this now former teacher a serial slayer because that is in fact what he is. He slayed 2 people, and I suspected at that time, based upon his humongous bag on his back that was completely empty, that his intended target had been thwarted. He did intend to kill another person, which would have made 3 people. So the little girls were able to get away with the help of the mother and when he was attacking them. But this couple, the parents of the 2 little girls, were, I don't believe, the intended target. That he was going to get one of the little girls, and because he has a history of inappropriate behaviors with little kids. And again, he has already confessed, so this isn't like innocent until proven guilty. He has confessed that he did actually commit these 2 homicides. As far as proving what his other intents was, well, that will be up to a jury. But it is, when I saw that bag on his back, I'm like, yeah. And plus the history of him in the schools and the history that he has going from one school to another. He has certification in Oklahoma, Arkansas, and also in Texas. I don't know if people know that, but he's also certified in Texas. So now that they have his DNA, hopefully they will find out if there's any unresolved cases that he may have also been involved in. But here's what happened. It says right here that he committed the offense of 2 counts of capital murder when he made a plan to attack and kill another. They will only currently charge him with what they can actually prove beyond reasonable doubt of what the intent was. And thankfully the little girls were able to get away. You see this bag? This is actually a very large bag, and so it's completely empty, and he probably did not want to be seen carrying one of the little girls after he drugged her, disabled her, did whatever he did. He was planning to get one of those girls. The mother made the girls run away and helped them to escape, and then sadly when she went back to assist her husband, that's when she was also killed. So it was the girls, and I do believe that had he gotten away with one of the girls, she would have been in this bag, and he would have, instead of being seen carrying a little girl to the car, he would just been carrying a big bag and stuffed it in his car and then took off. So now that they have his DNA, hopefully, if there are any unresolved cases that he might be involved in, hopefully they will be able to resolve it now that they have his DNA and his admissions in these 2 murders. And also they need legislation when it comes to teachers who have been acting inappropriate towards little girls or children in general. Unless they're able to charge them, a lot of times they're like, well, we don't want to be sued because, we not able to prove, it depends on what the situation is. But if a teacher is basically forced to resign and then goes from one school to another, then there's got to be some kind of legislation to require testing of teachers or cops or something, because this guy has certification in Texas. He was teaching in the northern part of Oklahoma and forced to resign based on repeated inappropriate acts with little ones, and then eventually led to this. What I want to do is I want to clear up the stuff that is being put out there about this man and what he did do and didn't do regarding his teaching, because AI is extremely problematic, okay? So I am from Oklahoma, okay? And I have read specific comments in various places, and I'm familiar with that school district up there. And he was, in fact, accused not only in the state of Texas, but also in Oklahoma. So I am calling out AI because it's giving out wrong information. Now, the cops themselves cannot state what his motive was, because unless they're able to prove that, get that out of him during, interviews, maybe at some point, because they're not waiving the death penalty. So there may be the ability to get that out of him at a later date. I'm sure that they're going to try to use his DNA to go after any unresolved cases, but there was multiple complaints by parents, not just in Texas where he was forced to resign, but also in Oklahoma. So he does have a long history of, he was alone with girls, and I do believe there's probably going to be people coming forward on this particular case. And right now, I think that schools are scared because, there may be lawsuits, because there's a lot of people angry because this guy was allowed to continue working. There's a lot of anger about this, not just in Oklahoma, but in Texas, from various people. So this is what it says. Now, when you first asked AI, it says no, there was no indication. It's like saying, as a matter of fact, there was no indication that they weren't after the girls, but that's not true. They could not state what his motive was, because again, they have to prove beyond reasonable doubt exactly what his motive was. Okay, but all that is going to come out, I guarantee you. If he goes to trial, it's going to come out. It's going to come out, right? It says there's no evidence at this time. Okay, now just wait. There's going to be people, I'm telling you, there's going to be parents coming forward. There's going to be people coming forward, right? They're going to, I guarantee you, it's going to happen if he goes to trial. So, and then they tried to say that there was nothing going on in Oklahoma, and I'm like, oh yes there was. And I checked this AI, I'm like, yes there was. It says his history of inappropriate conduct with children in Oklahoma schools, he was forced to resign, give indication that he was a child predator. And it says that he was forced to leave. He was placed on administrative leave in the spring of 2023 from Donald Elementary School in Flower Mound, Texas. But he still has an active certification in Texas. Well, he may not now, but he did before this murder. Concerns related to classroom management, professional judgment, and student favoritism. The Louisville Independent School District stated that their internal investigation could not find evidence of inappropriate behavior. So basically, it's kind of like their word against his kind of deal. So you have to have proof, basically, so that there's charges. It doesn't mean because he wasn't charged. It's a matter of proving things. So a parent of student in his class reported that her son expressed discomfort, how he was treating female students. He was giving them extra treats. He was keeping them in the classroom alone during recess. That's never appropriate. You got a little group of girls in your room while the rest are out during recess. That's never okay. That's never okay. So the parent stated her son overheard McGann tell one of the girls, if you were older, I would love to marry you. So he resigned, and then he taught in 2 different Oklahoma school districts, Broken Arrow Public Schools and Sand Springs Public Schools. Both Oklahoma districts stated that he passed all background checks and there was no disciplinary actions. And then I tell them, I'm like, oh, you are so wrong about that. He was accused in Oklahoma too, so your information is faulty. And then it says, oh yeah, you're absolutely correct, and I apologize for the incomplete information in my previous response. My information about his time in Oklahoma was indeed faulty. You're right, it was. So that's why I'm like, you can't rely on what you're being told in the media. I mean, I have already researched and gone through, different specific places on the internet where people who are connected to these schools, and they know, okay, right? And I'm not going to give their names, right? They'll make themselves known if they want to, but okay. So while the school districts themselves in Oklahoma stated that Andrew James McGann passed background checks and had no disciplinary actions within their districts, reports from parents have emerged indicating concerns about his behavior in Oklahoma as well that mirrored those from Texas. So you have just multiple schools that he taught at, okay, that he was basically doing the same thing. So we don't know if he's actually committed actual crimes with girls. We don't know, because a lot of times there's a shame, and children, they don't come forward. So we don't know, but there's reports of it. So I'm sure that there may be more that may come forward. They may contact these families, but now that they have the DNA, okay, any unresolved cases, but he was at the very least, he was grooming, and it is inappropriate. And it's sad that these schools that allowed this man to have girls in his room during recess when they're supposed to be outside, that's not appropriate. And you got other kids freaking out over it. And so anyways, but at this time, the police are not saying that he was targeting the girls. But I'm just like, yeah, he was targeting them girls. He absolutely was. And thank God the mother was a bear, man. She was a bear. She was like grabbing her babies and she was screaming the whole time. She was screaming at them to keep running, keep running, keep running, keep running. And so then she was trying to help her husband, went back to try to help her husband. and it was just, but the girls were able to get away. But that big bag, I'm going to show you. So this is a very large bag, and so it would have been easy for him to disable one of the little girls and then stuff her in that bag and then carry her, just basically walk off to his car with that little girl in his bag. What else would he have? Was he going through the woods collecting mushrooms? It was known that he was there to kill. He was there to basically spot a victim, and he thought that he found the perfect victims with the little girls, and he had covered up his license plate. It was all planned out. So this bag is a part of his plan. Okay, why else would he have a big old bag on his back? Okay, so it is my opinion that he was targeting the little girls. And so it's going to be up to the DA on what they think that they're going to be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, especially if they're not waiving the death penalty. He's already said he's going to leave that up to the jury. And maybe they'll work a deal with him if there's unresolved stuff, I don't know. But at this time, the prosecutor's not going to waive the death penalty. And so I just pray that if he has done other things, that, kids shouldn't have to come forward and say that they've been groomed or they've been, messed with or whatever. And I just pray to God that if they do, that they're protected, that this media doesn't trying to expose them. These, oh my gosh, the way they make such a show of all these cases, it's like this is so bad though, because there's such a long trail of messing with girls. Okay, I'm telling a little girl that he would love to marry her. That's never okay. If you were older, I'd love to marry you. That's never okay. That's just not appropriate behavior, right? But having them alone in the rooms and during recess, and just no telling what else he's done. And he may have got a trail of people that he's already killed, but he definitely was planning to kill more than 2 people, right? That's my opinion. He's a serial killer. That's what he is, and he may have other victims, but he definitely had at least 3 on this particular day that he was planning to kill. But it's just thankfully that the mother and the father were strong resistors, at least to the point where those girls escaped. Praise God.